Megan was standing in the bedroom doorway, holding that little white stick with both hands like it was a candle at church. Tears were running down her cheeks, her chin was shaking, and she had this huge smile plastered across her face. Connor, we're going to be parents. I looked at the test. 2 lines. Dark as hell. Like somebody drew them on with a Sharpie. She threw herself around my neck, and I hugged her back. Tight. For real tight. Both arms around her, my face buried in her hair. She smelled like that coconut shampoo from TJ Maxx she used to buy by the case. I cried. I wasn't faking it. I actually cried. Not because I was happy. Not because I was angry. Because 4 months of waiting were finally over. The trap had snapped shut. Call your mom, Megan said, wiping my cheek with her thumb. She's gonna lose her mind. So I called. Mom screamed into the phone so loud Megan could hear her without speakerphone. Then Megan called her mom, and her mom started crying, and then the two of them cried together while I stood there nodding and saying, yeah, and I know, and it's unbelievable. But the only thing running through my head was one number. 4 months. 4 months earlier, Dr. Patel at the clinic on Independence Boulevard had given me a vasectomy. 20 minutes. Local anesthetic. 2 tiny cuts. Dissolvable stitches. 10 weeks later, follow-up semen analysis. Result? 0. Absolute, clinical, lab-confirmed 0. So I rubbed Megan's stomach, kissed her on the forehead, and said, "This is the best day of my life." Then I went into the bathroom, locked the door, turned on the water, dialed the number. Dave, it's Connor Riley. Connor. It's 9 at night. She's pregnant. The test came back positive. 3 seconds of silence. Then Dave Schultz, my divorce lawyer, a man with the voice of a tired basset hound, said, "Okay, we'll talk in the morning. Don't do anything. Don't say anything. Act happy." I hung up, looked in the mirror, and thought I probably looked insane. Because I was smiling. 4.5 months before the test. June. Charlotte, North Carolina. Saturday. I was cleaning out the garage, making room for a new shelving unit from Lowe's. Megan had been complaining there was nowhere to put her dumbbells, yoga mat, and that giant foam roller thing she used on her back after workouts. In the side pocket of her gym bag, I found a business card. Thick cardstock. Gold lettering. Fit Core Studio. Personal training. On the back, handwritten in blue ink. "See you Thursday, Tigress," winking face. And a big loopy J. Tigress. My name is Connor Riley. I'm 31 years old, and I work in the IT department at an insurance company. I fix databases. My life is SQL queries and Zoom meetings with the camera off. Nobody in their right mind would call me a tiger, tigress, leopard, or any other predator from the National Geographic catalog. I'm a house cat. I've always known that. Megan knew it too when she married me. I didn't say anything. I put the card back, finished the shelves. That night, we ordered Thai food and watched 2 episodes of that HGTV show where couples pick houses and pretend they actually have the budget for them. Later, after Megan fell asleep, I took her phone. She didn't use a passcode, just Face ID. But if you hold the screen up to someone's sleeping face, it unlocks. Dirty move. I didn't give a damn. Instagram. DMs. Jake Morales. Profile picture. Some guy in a skin-tight tank top doing something with a kettlebell. Original. Jake. Super original. I read their messages for about 20 minutes. I'm not going to repeat all of it. Let's just say there were hearts. There were miss you texts. There were specific dates and an address. His apartment on South Boulevard. Thursday after training. Every week. Scheduled like a freaking accountant. I closed the phone. Put it back on the nightstand. Lay down. Megan was breathing softly, peacefully, facing the wall. The blanket had slipped down, and I could see her shoulder. 4 years earlier, that same shoulder had a tan line from the strap of her wedding dress. The next morning, I made her coffee. She said, "Thanks, babe," and kissed me on the cheek. I drove to work. At lunch, I Googled vasectomy, Charlotte, North Carolina. No referral cost. The clinic was called Carolina Men's Health. I made an appointment for Tuesday and took the day off. I told Megan I had to go to Raleigh for a cybersecurity training. She didn't even ask which one. There were 2 other guys in the waiting room. One was about 50, wearing a Harley-Davidson t-shirt, reading a fishing magazine upside down. The other was around my age, wearing headphones, staring at the floor. Nobody said a word to anybody. Made sense. The nurse was an Eastern European woman with a badge that said Irina. She asked if my wife knew. "We made the decision together," I said. Irina looked at me over her glasses. Didn't say anything. Just wrote it down in the chart. Dr. Patel turned out to be a small Indian guy with surgeon hands and Starbucks barista manners. Calm, polite, efficient. 20 minutes. I lay there staring at the ceiling, where someone had stuck a note that said, "You got this, champ." Probably for guys like me. 3 days at home. I told Megan I'd gotten food poisoning from the cafeteria at work. I lay on the couch with ice in my underwear, covered with a blanket. She brought me chicken soup from Panera and then left for training. I lay there, ate soup, and filled out an intake form for attorney Dave Schultz, whose name I got from Tim in underwriting. Tim got divorced 2 years earlier and said, "Schultz is boring as hell, but boring guys win cases." 10 weeks later, semen analysis. 0. Dave said, "Keep that paperwork in 3 places." I saved it to the cloud, printed 2 copies, and gave one to Dave. He put it in a folder labeled Riley C. and said, "Now we wait." So I waited. November, December, January, February. For 4 months, I lived in 2 realities at the same time. In the first one, Megan and I went to ultrasound appointments. A tiny gray smudge on a screen. The doctor said, "Heartbeat looks good." Megan cried. I held her hand. We made a baby registry at Target. Crib. Stroller. Pampers. Some weird thing she called a lounger that cost $300. Megan's mom did booties. Yellow, because we weren't finding out the sex. Megan wanted it to be a surprise. My mom ordered a blanket on Etsy embroidered with Baby Riley. For Christmas, Megan gave me a mug that said "World's Best Dad." I drank coffee from it every morning. Every single morning. In the second reality, I documented everything. Dates. Screenshots. Expenses. Every Thursday, when Megan left for yoga, I opened Find My Friends on my laptop. Her little dot didn't go to the studio on Park Road. It went to South Boulevard. To Jake. I took screenshots with timestamps. The folder in Google Drive was called Taxes 2024. Dave approved. Once, in late January, Megan came home from yoga at 9 instead of her usual 8. I was sitting at the kitchen table with my laptop. "Sorry I'm late," she said. Liz dragged me to Starbucks after class. "No problem," I said. "Soup's in the microwave." "You're the best." She kissed the top of my head and went to shower. I heard the water turn on. On my laptop screen, her location read, South Boulevard, 4117, apartment 2B. from 5:48 p.m. to 8:31 p.m. In February, Jake posted an Instagram story from some restaurant. In the background, on the table, there was a hand with a ring. Megan's wedding ring. Thin white gold. 1 stone. I zoomed in. It was hers. Saved the screenshot. Taxes 2024. By then, Dave had enough. He said that in North Carolina, adultery could matter in a legal separation and could affect alimony, especially with a child who was, not mine. Dave asked, "When do you want to start?" I said, "At the baby shower." Dave went quiet. For a long time. 10 seconds, maybe. "Connor," he said, "I'm a lawyer, not a movie director. My advice? File quietly." Dave, "I've been drinking coffee out of a world's best dad mug for 4 months." Another 5 seconds of silence. "Fine," he said. "It's your life." March 22nd, Saturday. Megan's mother's house in Matthews, a Charlotte suburb. A 1-story 70s ranch with vinyl siding and 2 magnolia trees out front. 32 people. Both families. Megan's college friends. My parents. Tim from underwriting and his wife. A couple neighbors. Megan's sister Caitlin and her husband. In the kitchen, there was a fondant cake, pink and blue, with the words, "He or she. What will baby be?" Garlands. Balloons. Tiny baby bottles filled with candy as party favors. Megan was wearing a white dress. Her belly was showing now. My dad shook my hand when I walked in and said, "Proud of you, son." Megan's mom hugged me and whispered, "You gave her everything I ever wanted for my little girl." I ate a smoked salmon canapé, talked to Tim about a new server, laughed at Aunt Carol's diaper joke. The envelope was in the inside pocket of my jacket. I could feel it every time I turned. At 4 o'clock, the toasts started. Megan's mom said something about family legacy and got choked up. Megan's dad raised a glass of non-alcoholic cider and said, "To the baby's health." Caitlin read a little poem she found on Pinterest. Everybody clapped. Then I stood up. "Can I say something?" 32 people turned. Megan smiled at me from across the room. My mom squeezed my dad's hand. "I want to tell a story," I said. "About the hardest day of my life?" It was back in June. I was cleaning out the garage and I found a business card. On the back, someone had written, "See you Thursday, Tigress." Megan's face changed. Not all at once. First, her smile froze like a photo. Then it disappeared. "I'm not going to get into the details," I continued. "I'll just say that after that, I did one thing. I took out the envelope, pulled out the paper, read it out loud. Carolina Men's Health. Dr. R. Patel. Procedure: vasectomy. Date: June 25th. Follow-up test 10 weeks later, 0 sperm, I said. 2 months before Megan's doctor says conception happened. I folded the paper and placed it on the table next to the cake. The room was silent. Aunt Carol was standing there with a canapé frozen halfway to her mouth. Megan's mother was staring at her daughter. Megan's father was staring at the floor. "You're lying," Megan said. Her voice was thin. "Strange." "You can verify the paperwork," I said. "Call the clinic. The number's right there." Tim from underwriting quietly said to his wife, "Let's go," and started getting up. My dad didn't move. My mom was crying, silently, sitting up straight. "Who?" Megan's father asked, loudly, like he was on a construction site where he'd spent 30 years. "Jake Morales," I said. "Personal trainer. Fitcore Studio on South Boulevard. Caitlin, Megan's sister, covered her mouth with her hand. She went to that same studio. She knew Jake. From her face, I could tell she hadn't known. Not about this. Megan stood up, knocking a little pillow embroidered with "Mommy-to-be" off the chair. She stood there for 1 second. Then she walked out of the room. The bedroom door slammed. I picked the envelope back up off the table, nodded politely to Megan's mother, said, "I'm sorry." No idea who I meant it for. Then I left. My Civic was parked in the driveway. The sun was still high. My phone said 4:17 p.m. On Monday, Dave filed the paperwork. The copy of the vasectomy report. Screenshots of the messages. Location data. Everything clean. Everything organized. Everything dated. Megan's lawyer, a woman named Patricia, called Dave 2 days later and suggested mediation. Dave called me back. They want to settle. Settle what? Property division. House. Car. The down payment on the house was mine. The car loan is mine. I know. That's why they want to settle. I said, okay, and hung up. Megan's mother called me a week later. I was standing in Petco, buying food for Benji, the cat I took when I moved out. She was crying, apologizing for her daughter, asking if there was any way we could maybe... I told her I was sorry things turned out this way and that I didn't hold anything against her personally. Then I hung up, bought the cat food, and a bag of tuna treats. Benji doesn't eat the other ones. I moved into an apartment on Elizabeth Avenue. Studio. 600 square feet. Window facing the parking lot. In the kitchen sat an Amazon box. The crib I'd ordered in December and forgotten to cancel. It got sent to the new place because I'd changed my shipping address after moving, but the order was already processing. The box sat against the wall. I didn't open it. Didn't send it back. It just sat there. Jake deleted his Instagram and Facebook that same night, March 22nd. I know because Tim from underwriting checked. Tim has no personal life, but he does have 12 search tabs open and way too much free time. Tim said Fitcore had also removed Jake from their website. Not fired him. Just removed his photo and bio. Classy. Caitlin texted me a month later. Short message. I didn't know. I'm so sorry. If you ever need to talk, I'm here. I didn't answer. Not because I was mad. I just didn't know what to say. September. 6 months after everything. Barbershop on Central Avenue. Saturday, 1 in the afternoon. 2 people ahead of me. Football on TV. The Panthers were playing some preseason game, and the announcer was trying real hard to sound excited. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Unknown number. Local 704 area code. Text message. She had the baby. Boy. In case you care. No name. No context. I don't know who sent it. Caitlin? Someone we both knew? Megan herself from a new number? The barber, a big Dominican guy named Miguel with a cross tattoo on his forearm, called out, "Metzt." I put the phone back in my pocket. Sat in the chair. Miguel threw the cape over me. Same as usual? Shorter on the sides. The Clippers buzzed. On TV, the Panthers gave up a touchdown. Miguel clicked his tongue. Hair fell onto the linoleum. I never opened the message again. It sat in my notifications for 3 days. Then the screen cleared it on its own. I didn't delete it. Didn't save the number either. Benji was asleep on the windowsill when I got home. Food was fine. Water was empty. I filled the bowl. Sat down at the table. Opened my laptop. Work chat had 14 unread messages from Tim about the database migration. I wrote, "I'll look at it tomorrow. I don't have the bandwidth today." Tim replied with a cat meme. Good guy, Tim.